Hi, this is a certain episode of the philosophy/politics series I'm putting out on YouTube, and in this episode we're going to talk about Nazism. We're going to talk about scapegoats. We're going to talk about an anti-character ideology. If you look at the history of ideological political thought, that you're going to find out some ideologies, and this goes for the most extremist ones, most especially, exist without existing in itself, but exists against something. The most notable example of this was Nazism. Well, Nazism was a reactionary ideology in reaction to everything that the Western ideals stood for in the 1930s. It was anti-liberal, it was anti-capitalist, it was anti-individualist. Basically, Nazism came in reaction and against to everything that American image epistomized at that time. If you add a conservative nature to this understanding of the status quo, which is to imply that the current status quo is a derivation from what used to be perfect, you get yourself a purely conservative idea. You react to the current stage of things, and your argument is to turn back to what it was like back then. However, if you emphasize on this anti-character so much so, it becomes unsubstantial. The ideology itself cannot justify in its own existence, because its very existence depends on the existence of the status quo. So, Nazis needed an image, a scapegoat image, to substantiate their beliefs about the reality. This belief would have, pulled all the blame of what is problematic about that point of time. And this image of the pure evil scapegoat was targeted at the Jewish people of that time. What's most interesting about this image of scapegoat is, in Nazism especially, is extremely self-contradictory. For example, a Jew is the bank owner, is the ruler of the money supply in Germany. They enslave the German workers. They're controlling the economy. Right? At the same time, a Jew is a communist. A Jew tries to bring down the successful people of Germany through its own communist ideology. A what? Well, now these seem to be contradictory. Furthermore, a Jew is deformed. A Jew is subhuman. A Jew is disgusting. At the same time, a Jew is mighty. A Jew is dangerous. A Jew is a threat to continuation of the German race. What's interesting to me is that this contradiction existed conceptually, but the Nazis somehow managed to pull millions of people and rally them behind this contradictory image. But then I tell myself that it's precisely because this image is so self-contradictory, it managed to get all the support that it can in the German nation during that time. For example, not only did the communists go against the Jews who controlled the banks, but also the capitalist conservatives went against the Jews who were communist, Not only the people who wanted to conserve their culture and was afraid of change supported the Nazis, but also the people who wanted to progress and create a new society supported the Nazis. If you want a similar image of a scapegoat, not similar in the sense that it exists in the same medium, but similar in the sense of its, self-contradictory nature, you gotta look at today's society. You gotta look at Andrew Tate, the ideology of Andrew Tate. What's the informative and ideological basis of Andrew Tateism? Well, I don't know. it kind of doesn't stand for much of a thing, but it stands against so many things. It stands against, liberalism. It stands against their idea of what socialism is, which itself is inaccurate. But anyway, it stands against, the woke culture. And the scapegoat they have elected for this ideological project was women. Then that's kind of insane, because they're not the minority, They may be the minority in media, but they're not the minority in real life. They make 50% of the population. Somehow, Andrew Tate managed to pull 50% of the general public as a scapegoat. And he did this by exploiting the intimate loneliness of the men who lived online, who lived chronically online. Talking about the woman image of a scapegoat in Andrew Tateism, it's really interesting. Not only are women, they're weak, they're good for nothing, they cannot protect themselves, so we have to protect them. But also, at the same time, they are, if you're a man and if you want to achieve a place in the social hierarchy, you do that through women. They are the monopolies of the social capital. Now, how does that work? You just told me that they were weak, but now you're telling me that they're everything I need to achieve in life to be successful. Let's again look at the social groups that this image is attracting. It's not only attracting, people with low self-confidence, who are gonna feel good by looking down at other people because they haven't yet achieved self-actualization. It also attracts people with a good sense of achievement, people who look forward to get somewhere in life. And those two ends are the extreme ends of the media political spectrum. So just as the Nazis were able to attract the extreme ends of the political spectrum of Germany, Andrew Tate was able to attract the media spectrum of our times with his self-contradictory image of a woman. Now, I think this is the juice. This is where it gets really interesting for me. Hegel talks about negation. Hegel says that for one thing to exist, it has to be not the other thing. What does that mean? Well, doesn't that in politics relate to what we talked about being anti-character, right? So this cup is an anti-character of everything else that's around it. However, what makes this cup is not only its otherness to its surrounding, but itself as well. This cup has an identity, where part of it is the identity of the cup, the negation, the end negation, and the part of its identity, the other part, is its otherness to its environment, its negative identity. Some ideologies, such as Andrew Tateism and Nazism, are only the negative identity that they exist within. They're only against something, but not really for anything. That's apart from their againstness of all the other things. What this implies is that when the thing they're against disappears, those ideologies cease to exist. They don't cease to exist, but they push themselves into a state of pure confusion. Imagine, for example, in a hypothetical scenario, that all the women disappeared tomorrow. Do you think the ideology of Andrew Tate would manage to survive, an apocalypse like that? No, I doubt it. I doubt it in every possible way. Similarly, what if the Jews stopped existing in Germany? Do you think Nazis had a chance then? No, they didn't. That's why. Here's a social and psychological lesson. I think a lot of people, especially in media, are against stuff without being for anything. And that's, I think, a perfect ideology for a teenager that hasn't developed yet its values. But it could be dangerous. You could be manipulated in so many ways because of your anti-character. So put that in check, Don't identify too strongly with your negation. That's all I wanted to say. Take care, guys.